The janitor who touched a billionaire and paid the price nobody screamed at first. That was the scariest part. 1 second the boardroom was buzzing, charts glowing, suits nodding, money talk floating thick in the air. The next, dead silence. The kind that crawls under your skin. "Call 911 now," a man shouted from the doorway, his voice cracking as his mop clattered to the marble floor. At the head of the table, Alexandra Ashford, tech queen, billionaire CEO, untouchable legend, stood frozen mid-sentence. Her confident smile vanished. One hand flew to her chest. Her breath hitched like she'd just been punched from the inside. Then she dropped. Hard. For half a heartbeat, nobody moved. These were executives who signed deals worth more than a janitor's lifetime paycheck, and they just stood there like statues. "Is this a joke?" someone muttered. Her lips started turning blue. That's when Bernard stepped in. Bernard Kellerman wasn't supposed to be there. He was the night shift janitor, gray uniform, scuffed shoes, invisible to people like this. But when he saw Alexandra on the floor, eyes rolling back, something primal kicked in. He ran. "Hey, you don't belong in here," someone snapped. Bernard didn't care. He dropped to his knees, pressed his fingers to her neck. Nothing, no pulse. "Oh hell no," he whispered. His heart slammed against his ribs. He'd taken a free CPR class once, just to get a grocery voucher. But the instructor's voice came back loud and clear. "If they're not breathing, you breathe for them." Bernard tilted her head, pinched her nose, leaned in. "Is he kissing her?" a woman shrieked. Pain exploded across Bernard's back. Someone hit him hard, maybe a baton, maybe an umbrella. He grunted but didn't stop. 1, 2, 3, chest compressions. His arms burned. Another blow landed. His shoulder screamed. "Get off her, you creep." He ignored them all. "Don't you dare die," Bernard muttered, sweat dripping down his face. "Not like this." On the next breath, Alexandra's body jerked. She coughed deep and violent, like she'd been dragged up from the bottom of the ocean. Color rushed back into her face. She was alive. Bernard collapsed backward, shaking. Around him, the suit swarmed her, suddenly frantic, suddenly caring. Paramedics burst in seconds later. "Who started CPR?" one asked. "I did," Bernard said quietly. A tall man with silver hair stepped forward, eyes cold. "You put your mouth on Miss Ashford." His tone dripped with disgust. "Security will be reviewing this." No thank you. No acknowledgement. Bernard picked up his bucket and walked out, back on fire, heart pounding. He didn't know that inside the hospital, Alexandra Ashford was waking up haunted by a stranger's voice. And he definitely didn't know that saving a billionaire's life was about to destroy his own. Next, Bernard goes home thinking he did the right thing. But by morning, the whole city will believe a lie about him. By the time Bernard Kellerman got off the bus, the city had already swallowed the sun. Streetlights buzzed like tired insects. A siren wailed somewhere far off, then faded. Bernard's back throbbed with every step, like his spine was keeping score of every hit he'd taken in that boardroom. He kept telling himself one thing over and over. You did the right thing. That had to count for something, right? "Daddy!" Molly came flying down the hallway barefoot, her stuffed bear dragging behind her. She wrapped her arms around his waist like she was afraid he might disappear. "You're home late," she said, peeking up at him. "Are you okay?" Bernard forced a smile. The kind parents get real good at faking. "Yeah, kiddo, just a wild day. No big deal." Lie number 1. Dinner was leftover mac and cheese and some veggies Janet from next door had dropped off earlier. Molly chattered about school, spelling tests, a kid who stole her crayons, how she wanted pancakes tomorrow. Bernard nodded at the right moments, but his mind was still stuck on a cold boardroom floor and a woman not breathing. When Molly finally fell asleep, curled up with her bear, Bernard lay staring at the ceiling. The heater rattled like it might give up any second. His phone buzzed. A message from a coworker. Bro, people at work are saying crazy stuff. About what you did. His stomach sank. Another buzz, this time a screenshot. Grainy security footage. Bernard leaning over Alexandra. The angle made it look wrong. Real wrong. Looks bad, man. Bernard dropped the phone onto the mattress like it burned. His chest felt tight, like someone had wrapped duct tape around his lungs. That wasn't a kiss. That was CPR. That was saving a damn life. But the internet didn't care about truth. It cared about drama. The next morning, Bernard stood outside the Ashford Tower just as the sun painted the glass gold. Same uniform. Same lunch bag with a peanut butter sandwich and a bruised apple, different energy. He stepped toward the revolving door and an arm shot out, blocking him. "Sir, you're not allowed inside." Bernard blinked. "What? I work here. Night shift. 22nd floor." The guard didn't even look him in the eye. "I was told not to let you in. Contact HR." A cold chill slid down Bernard's spine. "This has to be a mistake," Bernard said, trying to keep his voice steady. "I didn't do anything wrong." The guard shrugged. "Not my call." Bernard stepped aside as waves of employees flowed past him, coffee cups, earbuds, power suits. Nobody saw him, or worse, they did and chose not to. Inside, HR handed him a sealed envelope. "You're terminated," the supervisor said flatly. "Effective immediately. Reason, inappropriate conduct involving senior personnel." Bernard's ears rang. "Inappropriate," he whispered. "She was dying." The supervisor avoided his eyes. "That's all I know." Outside, the city kept moving like nothing had happened. Bernard sat on a bus stop bench, hands shaking, staring at his reflection in the glass of a passing billboard. Alexandra Ashford smiled down at him from 30 feet tall. Integrity, vision, leadership. Bernard laughed once. It came out broken. His phone buzzed again. Another message, another screenshot, this one already spreading online. Janitor crosses the line with unconscious CEO. Bernard closed his eyes. He had saved a life, and somehow that made him the villain. But while Bernard's world was falling apart, Alexandra Ashford was waking up and asking one dangerous question. Why doesn't anyone know the name of the man who saved me? Alexandra Ashford woke up gasping. Not the soft, confused kind of wake-up either. This was violent. Like she'd been yanked out of deep water by the collar. Her chest burned. Her heart slammed so hard it felt personal. She sat bolt upright in her hospital bed, sheets tangled around her legs, monitors beeping like they were snitching on her panic. "Easy, Miss Ashford," a nurse said, rushing in. "You're safe. Safe." Alexandra pressed a hand to her chest, breathing slow. She remembered darkness, thick, crushing darkness, and then a voice. "Come on, breathe, don't you quit on me." A man's voice, strained, desperate, real. She scanned the room. "Who brought me back?" she asked. "Who did CPR?" The nurse hesitated, just for a second, but Alexandra caught it. "I'll get the doctor," the nurse said quickly and slipped out. That hesitation lit a fuse. Alexandra wasn't new to power games. She'd built a billion-dollar empire by noticing the things people tried to dodge. And right now, everyone was dodging. Later that afternoon, her executive team came filing in flowers, fake smiles, rehearsed concern. "Thank God you're okay," Tyler Brigham, the CFO, said smoothly. "We handled the situation internally." Internally, Alexandra's eyes narrowed. "Handled how?" "There was an incident," Tyler said carefully. "A facilities employee acted inappropriately during the emergency. HR took swift action." "Inappropriate," Alexandra repeated slowly. The word tasted wrong. She closed her eyes and the memory came rushing back. Pressure on her chest, air forced into her lungs, pain, life. That wasn't inappropriate, that was survival. "I want the security footage," she said. The room froze. "Legal already reviewed it," Tyler replied. For your protection, it's best. I didn't ask for opinions, Alexandra cut in, her voice sharp enough to slice glass. I want the footage. Now, silence. That evening, alone in her penthouse, Alexandra opened the video file. She watched herself collapse, watched people hesitate, watched panic turn into paralysis. Then she saw him. A man in a gray janitor's uniform sprinting in like he had nothing to lose, dropping to his knees, checking her pulse, starting CPR without a second thought. She leaned closer to the screen. He was shaking, terrified, and still he didn't stop. She watched executives hit him, yank him, accuse him, and she watched him save her anyway. Alexandra's hands curled into fists. She paused the video on his face, jaw clenched, eyes burning with focus. That's the man, she whispered. That's the one. She grabbed her phone and dialed security. Find him, she said coldly. Name, address, everything. Ma'am, the voice replied carefully, he was terminated this morning. Alexandra stood up so fast her chair slid back. They fired the man who saved my life. Her voice dropped low, dangerous. Then dragged his name through the mud. A new emotion surged through her chest, not fear. Rage. Because somewhere out there, a man who did the right thing was being destroyed, and it was happening under her name. And while Alexandra was getting ready to fix the truth, Bernard was about to lose the only thing that still mattered to him, his daughter. Bernard thought losing his job was the worst part. Turns out that was just the opening punch. By the fourth day, the city had decided who he was, and it wasn't a hero. He felt it everywhere. The way people stared a second too long at the corner store. The way conversations dipped when he walked past. Even the bus driver side-eyed him like Bernard might do something crazy. "Daddy, why is that lady whispering?" Molly asked softly as they stood in line for milk. Bernard swallowed. "Some folks just like to talk, kiddo, don't sweat it." But he was sweating it, big time. At home, the apartment felt smaller every day. The lights flickered twice before settling. A pink notice from the electric company sat on the counter like a threat. Janet, their elderly neighbor, folded the newspaper with a tired sigh. "They got your face in here now," she said quietly. "Not your name, just your picture." Bernard didn't ask to see it, he already knew. That night his phone buzzed nonstop. Fake accounts, anonymous messages. One headline punched harder than the rest. Janitor accused after CEO collapse, questions raised questions. Yeah, real convenient word. Molly tugged his sleeve. "Daddy, did you do something bad?" That one hit him right in the chest. Bernard knelt in front of her, took her small hands in his rough ones. "No, baby, I helped someone, that's it." Then why are people mad? Because the truth doesn't trend, he thought. Lies do. The next morning, Bernard went job hunting. Laundromats, diners, cleaning services. Anywhere that might throw him a lifeline. Same story every time. Polite smile, awkward pause. "Yeah, we'll call you." Nobody ever did. At the third place, the owner didn't even bother pretending. "I can't have that kind of attention," the man said, tapping his phone. "Clients get jumpy. No offense." "No offense," Bernard echoed hollowly as he walked back out into the cold. On the way home, a group of teenagers laughed near a convenience store. "Yo, that's him," one of them said loud on purpose. The janitor dude saw the clip wild. Bernard kept walking, head down, heart heavy. That night after Molly fell asleep, Bernard sat alone in the dark. His back still ached. His bank account was damn near empty. And now the lie was crawling closer to his kid. His phone rang. Unknown number. "Mr. Kellerman," a woman said, voice flat and rehearsed. "This is Human Resources from Ashford Holdings. Our internal investigation is complete." Bernard sat up. "So you know I didn't do anything wrong." A pause, too long. "Your termination stands," she said. "We advise you not to pursue further contact." Click. The call ended like he never mattered. Bernard stared at the wall, breathing shallow. Then his eyes drifted to Molly's door, slightly open, her nightlight glowing soft and warm. "I did the right thing," he whispered into the empty room. "So why does it feel like I'm the one paying for it?" Across the city, Alexandra Ashford was putting on her coat, grabbing her car keys, and doing something she hadn't done in years. She was about to show up herself. Alexandra crosses into Bernard's world, and what she finds behind his door changes everything. Alexandra Ashford didn't bring security. No driver, no assistant, no PR buffer, just a dark coat, tired eyes, and a question that wouldn't leave her alone. What did we do to the man who saved my life? Her luxury sedan rolled into West Philadelphia like it didn't belong, because it didn't. Glass towers faded into cracked sidewalks, flickering streetlights and brick buildings that had seen better decades. Kids played in the street between parked cars. A man sold hot dogs from a dented cart, steam rising into the cold air. Alexandra checked the address again. This was it. She parked and stepped out. The air hit her sharp and raw, nothing like the filtered climate of her penthouse. She climbed the narrow steps and knocked. No answer. She knocked again. The door creaked open, and a little girl stared up at her with wide eyes and a worn-out teddy bear clutched to her chest. You're the lady from the big building," the girl whispered. Alexandra's throat tightened. "Hi, I'm looking for your dad, Bernard." Molly's face fell. "He's sick," she said softly. "He won't get up. He keeps saying he's tired." Alexandra didn't wait. Inside, the apartment was dim, cold, and too quiet. Bernard lay curled on a thin mattress, face pale, lips dry, breathing shallow like his body was running on fumes. "Bernard," Alexandra said, kneeling beside him. "It's me." No response. She touched his hand. It was burning. "Call 911, Alexandra said sharply to Molly. "Now." Minutes later, sirens sliced through the night. Paramedics worked fast. IV, oxygen, urgent glances. "Severe dehydration," one muttered. "Stress-related collapse." Alexandra rode with him in the ambulance, holding onto the same hand that had once held her between life and death. At the hospital, she didn't leave. When Bernard finally stirred, his eyes cracked open and landed on her. "Why are you here?" he rasped. Her voice shook. "Because I saw the footage, all of it. You saved my life. And I let them destroy yours." Tears welled in his eyes. "They said I assaulted you." "I know," she said fiercely, "and they lied." She reached into her bag and handed him a document, an official statement, signed, notarized, clearing his name. "You're not invisible anymore," Alexandra said. "Not on my watch." Bernard stared at the paper, hands trembling. For the first time since the boardroom, someone with power was finally standing on his side. But fixing the truth was only step one, because someone inside Ashford Holdings wasn't done trying to bury Bernard. Bernard thought clearing his name would feel like freedom. It didn't. It felt like standing in the middle of a storm, knowing the thunder wasn't done yet. He stayed in the hospital 3 days. IVs, monitors, doctors throwing around words like exhaustion, malnutrition, acute stress response. Fancy ways of saying life had hit him from all sides and didn't let up. Molly slept in a chair beside his bed, her teddy bear tucked under her arm like security. Alexandra made sure of everything: private room, real meals, even a social worker to keep Molly from getting dragged into the mess online. But not everyone was happy about Alexandra stepping in. Not even close. 3 floors below Bernard's room, in a quiet conference suite, Tyler Brigham, the same CFO who'd yanked Bernard away from a dying woman, stared at his phone like it had personally betrayed him. Alexandra's official statement was everywhere. No misconduct, life-saving CPR confirmed. Tyler clenched his jaw. "This janitor just embarrassed the whole company," he muttered. One of the lawyers cleared his throat. "Sir, public opinion is shifting fast." That's the problem, Tyler snapped. People love a comeback story. He stood, straightened his suit. Dig, I want everything on Bernard Kellerman, old debts, eviction notices. Anything that makes him look messy. The lawyer hesitated. That could backfire, Tyler smiled thinly. Only if he stays quiet. Back in the hospital, Bernard felt it before he saw it. His phone buzzed nonstop. New headlines. New posts. Janitor's past resurfaces after CEO scandal. Not so innocent. Bernard closed his eyes. Here we go, he whispered. Alexandra read over his shoulder, her expression darkening. They're trying to smear you. Figures, Bernard said weakly. System doesn't like it when someone like me survives. She met his eyes. I won't let them do this again. But you can't fight everything, Bernard said quietly. They got money, lawyers, connections. Alexandra leaned in, voice low and steady. And you've got the truth. Don't underestimate how powerful that is. The next morning, Bernard was discharged, but he didn't go back to his old apartment. Alexandra had arranged temporary housing. Safe, warm, close to a good school. When Molly saw the place, her eyes lit up. Daddy, we have a couch that doesn't wobble. Bernard laughed for the first time in weeks. A real laugh. But that night, as he sat on the balcony staring at the city lights, his phone buzzed again. Unknown number. You should have stayed invisible. Bernard stared at the screen, pulse quickening. This wasn't over. Inside Ashford Holdings, lines were being drawn. Quietly. Carefully. Because Bernard Kellerman wasn't just a janitor anymore. He was a problem. Bernard is offered something that could change his life forever, but accepting it might put an even bigger target on his back. Bernard didn't sleep that night. Not because the new apartment was uncomfortable, it wasn't. The place was quiet, warm, almost too clean, like life had hit pause in a way he didn't trust yet. The kind of calm that makes you wonder what's coming next. The text message still burned in his mind. You should have stayed invisible. He deleted it, then powered his phone off. Still didn't help. By morning, Alexandra was already moving pieces. She showed up just after breakfast, no cameras, no press, standing in the doorway with coffee in one hand and a thin folder in the other. "How you holding up?" she asked. Bernard shrugged. "Depends on the hour." Fair answer. They sat at the small kitchen table while Molly colored in the living room, humming like the world hadn't almost crushed them. Alexandra slid the folder across the table. Bernard didn't touch it. "I'm not asking you to sign anything," she said calmly. "Not yet." "What is it?" he asked. "An opportunity." He laughed once, dry and tired. "That word hasn't been kind to me lately." She didn't smile. "I know." Bernard finally opened the folder. Inside wasn't a cleaning contract or hush money or a settlement. It was a job description. Director of Employee Welfare, Ashford Holdings, new division. Bernard looked up slowly. "This is a joke." "It's not." "I don't wear suits," he said. "I don't talk corporate. Half the people in that building think I'm trash." "Exactly," Alexandra replied. "That's why it has to be you." She leaned forward. "You saw what happens when nobody speaks for the invisible workers. I want to build something that stops that. Real support. Real accountability." Bernard shook his head. "They'll eat me alive." "They'll try," she admitted. "Especially Tyler." Bernard stiffened. "So this is a fight." Alexandra didn't dodge it. "Yeah, it is." Silence stretched between them. Bernard glanced toward Molly, toward the fridge that actually had food in it, toward a future that suddenly didn't look like survival mode. "And if I say no," he asked. Alexandra nodded once. "Then I'll still make sure you and your daughter are safe. No strings." That part hit harder than the offer. Bernard stood and walked to the window. The city looked different from up here, not kinder, just whiter. "All my life," he said slowly, "I learned one rule. Don't make noise, don't stand out. Don't poke the bear." He turned back to her. And the one time I did the right thing loud enough for people to notice, it almost wrecked my kid's life." Alexandra met his gaze. "That's exactly why the system counts on people like you staying quiet." Bernard exhaled. "I need time," he said. "Take it," she replied instantly. "No pressure." She stood to leave, then paused at the door. "One more thing," she added. "Whatever you decide, you're not alone anymore." After she left, Bernard sat back down, hands shaking. Molly looked up from her drawing. "Daddy, are we okay?" He pulled her into his arms and held her tight. "Yeah, baby," he whispered. "I think we're getting there." But somewhere across the city, Tyler Brigham was already making calls. Because if Bernard accepted that job, this wouldn't just be redemption. It would be war. When Bernard makes his choice, the truth explodes publicly, and the people who tried to erase him face the consequences. Bernard stood in front of the mirror, adjusting a borrowed blazer that still felt strange on his shoulders. Not because it didn't fit, but because a week ago, the same world now watching him had decided he didn't matter. Outside the Ashford Holdings annex, reporters packed the sidewalk. Cameras, microphones, that low electric buzz that meant someone powerful was about to lose control of the narrative. Bernard took a breath. "I'm not doing this for revenge," he muttered to himself. "I'm doing this so Molly grows up in a world that doesn't eat good people alive." Inside the conference hall, Alexandra stood at the podium, calm but unflinching. "Before we begin," she said into the mic, "I want to introduce the man who saved my life and who this company failed." Murmurs exploded. Bernard walked out. Flashbulbs went crazy. That same janitor they'd mocked. The same man they'd accused, standing tall, seen. Alexandra continued, "Bernard Kellerman has accepted the role of Director of Employee Welfare at Ashford Holdings, effective immediately." The room lost its mind. Then Bernard spoke. "I didn't come here to be a hero," he said, voice steady but raw. "I came here because telling the truth shouldn't cost you your job, your name, or your kid's future." Screens behind him lit up, emails, footage, internal HR memos. Receipts, faces in the room went pale. Tyler Brigham wasn't one of them, because 30 minutes later his resignation hit the press. Effective immediately. The lie collapsed under its own weight. That night Bernard sat on his balcony with Molly asleep against his chest. The city glowed differently now. Not kinder, just fairer. For the first time, sometimes the most dangerous thing you can do is refuse to stay invisible.